For some reasons, I was getting this. Of course. I know, eh? Alright then. Whew.
Hope it's been that for a while.
For some reasons.
Whoa. I'm not sure you realize that, by the way.
I know, eh?
I know, it spins a lot visually. Of course. I know, it spins a lot visually. Then I noticed. Of course. I know, eh? It spins a lot visually. Then I noticed.
Of course.
I know, it spins a lot visually.
Of course.
I know, it spins a lot. Then I noticed.
Of course. Well, for some reasons.
I know, eh?
I know, it splits a lot visually.
Of course. Guess I was right. Of course. Alright, it spins a lot visually. Then we notice. Of course. It spins a lot visually.
I know, eh? Of course.
And how do you know this?
Well, for some reasons. Hold on.
Whoa.
Cool, eh?
Blaze the cat?
For some reasons, I was gonna this.
Of course. It spins a lot visually. I guess I was right. Of course.
I know, for some reasons.
Right, of course. Whew. I guess I was right visually.
Shadow the Hedgehog?
I know. It spins a lot visually.
Of course.
I know, eh? Spins a lot visually. Then I notice. Of course. It spins a lot visually.
Of course.
I know. Spins a lot, by the way. Of course. I know, eh? It spins that from earlier.
Of course.
I know. It spins a lot visually.
Of course.
I know. It spins a lot visually.
Of course.
I guess I was right.
I know, right?
I know. I was good at this.
Of course. So it's Blaze the cat?
I know. For some reasons.
Of course.
I know. For some reasons. And how do you know this?
Because I splits a lot.
Of course. For some reasons.
I know, right?
I know. Splits a lot visually. Of course. It always does, definitely. Of course.
I know, right?
I know. Spins a lot visually.
Course.
I know. Spins a lot visually. Then on this. Of course. I know. Of course. I know, I know. Spoons a lot visually. Of course. I know. Spoons a lot visually. Of course. I know. At least I'm trying, by the way. Of course. I know. Spoons a lot visually. And then I know this. Of course. I know, why? Do we have the spoons with others? Cause I said so. Of course. I know, it spoons a lot eventually. Of course. I know, spoons a lot. Of course. Whew. Alright then. Whew. Alright then. So, how am I gonna know this?
For some reasons. I guess I was waiting for a bit. Then I noticed. Of course. I know, why? It's been so long, visually. Then I noticed. Of course. I know, why? I know, for some reasons. I know. Yes! Alright then. We'll talk later. Alright then.
Now what's for you?
Alright then. So we had to find the others.
Alright then. So how do you know this?
We got to find the others.
Alright then.
Yes! And also the sheep. Right, of course.
Alright then. Alright then.
Yes! Hope we can spin that for a while. Alright, let's find the others to make sure. Then we know this.
Of course.
I know.
Of course. Of course.
Alright, we need to find the others to make sure.
Alright then.
Of course. Alright, let's find the others.
Alright then.
Phew, it's been that for a while. Of course.
I know, why? Did I add spoons that for a while? Of course. Spoons a lot. Alright then. Did I add spoons a lot visually?
Of course. Yes! Alright then. Whew, hope it's been that for a while.
Alright then, yes! Whew. I hope we can spoons a lot visually.
Of course. For some reasons. How do we know this? Well, I suppose a lot visually. Of course. Alright then, let me know. For some reasons. So, for some reasons, how do you know this? Well, I suppose a lot. I know, I know. Of course. It spins a lot visually.
Phew. Alright then. Yes! Your head spins a lot, by the way.
Of course. Spins a lot, by the way. Phew, from the others familiar. I know, right? I know.
Of course.
For some reasons, I guess I was right. Of course. I know, for some reasons. Then we know this. Of course. I know. Spent a lot, Vigilante. Of course. I know, for some reasons. Then we know this. Of course. I know, why? I know. Of course. Alright then. Yes.
Well, I hope I spent a lot, Vigilante. And we'll talk later. Of course. I know, why?
I know.
Alright then, for some reasons, how do you know this?
Well, I spent a lot, Vigilante.
Of course.
I know, right?
I know. I spent a lot, Vigilante.
Of course.
I know, for some reasons. How do we know this?
'Cause I spent a lot.
Of course.
Alright then.
Whew. I guess I spent a lot.
Of course.
I know, right?
I know.
Of course.
For some reasons, right?
I know.
Of course.